That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Yeah. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
Boom. Welcome back to this week's episode of the OneCast. Ben's not with us tonight. He's hanging out with his family that's in town. So you got Pete and me in the studio. We are going to have an awesome part 2 here with our special guest, Buck Mallory. If you haven't listened to the first episode, rewind, go back, listen to Buck talk about getting into the fishing game and how he grew up and his entire story. It was fantastic. We wanted to bring him back on here after stop number 6 in the NPFL concluded on Logan Martin Lake. And we're going to dive into that here in just a second. But before we do that, head on over and support all those that support us most. OneCast Fishing. Go to OneCastFishing.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word at checkout. Save money. And then head on over to CarolinaWatersNC.com. Use the code TheOneCast, all one word at checkout. Get all that UPF gear. And then download the Deep Dive app before your next fishing trip. Help you break down that body of water, target those species that you're looking for, and show you everything that you need to know about the lake that you're going to be fishing. And then use that link that Pete always drops in the description to head on over to Hobie Eyewear and get your hands on all those frames that we talk about. We love the floating frames and the new Whole Float series, the 100% upcycled kayak plastic. Never lose another pair of sunglasses. And then move yourself to Central North Carolina. We got great fisheries here. And if you're going to do that, you need to contact Terry Carpenter, licensed NC realtor here in Central North Carolina with Howard Perry Wilson and Caldwell Banker. Rocking his hat tonight. He's been a sponsor of the show, a partner of the show for a long time. So he knows exactly what you're looking for when you're moving to Central North Carolina. All right.
All right.
Good to go. Let's bring on Buck Mallory for part 2. And we're going to talk NPFL exclusively. Buck Mallory.
Resetting his can.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, we got you, brother. All the way from Michigan.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're good. Can you hear us?
I'm thinking Buck can't hear us right this moment. Somebody probably called him.
You know what? They did, and I thought I had all that stuff blocked off, but somebody must have called.
Buck, we appreciate you taking some time this afternoon and joining us, man. We can't wait to dive into your NPFL career. And so, the last time we had a conversation, we got the full story, basically from childhood all the way up until, really you got into the professional fishing game, but we never really touched on the NPFL. And we know we were just talking before the show. You've been with the NPFL for 4 seasons now, and you got a victory on the NPFL. So, yeah, man, if you want to kick it off and kind of start like that year 1 and just talk about the special moments. Actually, let's talk about this real quick. How did you get an invite to the NPFL, or was it something that you saw on the internet? Like, how did it go down?
So I got invited to the NPFL, and it was funny because it was like a weird email. I'm pretty sure, thinking back, it was from Big Al, and it was like a year before they even came out with like a schedule or anything. They were just trying to come up with a roster of some type of somebody that would be interested in fishing, and what kind of payouts were like acceptable and whatnot. And that that kind of jump started the gears in the brain of that this is something that was possible, and let's look into it. And just like anything else that's new, though, you kind of got to read into it and see between the lines what it's going to be or what needs to be done. And there's a lot of work that goes into starting an organization like that. There's a lot of boots on the ground time. There's a lot of, I can only imagine the meetings them guys have to go through, honestly, to make something like that happen. So they did a lot of work to get it going. And I got invited again in 2020 when they were making it official, and I took the invitation then. So yeah, they did sorry, I got a piece of fuzz or something.
No, you're good.
Yeah, they did a really good job of bringing in some good guys right off the rip, and it was mostly like Bassmaster Opens and Toyota Series guys, some bigger names in between too. There was a couple of influencers too that had like a bigger following on social media that was hopeful that they could draw more fans to the organization, and I think in a whole they probably did. But yeah, they did a lot of work, and I think they still continue to do a lot of work to get it done. They have a skeleton crew compared to every other organization. Not a lot of people that are involved. So obviously their overhead's a little less, but that's a whole lot more work per man, so that's the
Sure,
harder
yeah.
part. Me being a business owner, I know that there's times that I wish I had 5 more of me, and I'm sure that there's times that Brad Fuller wishes he had 5 more of him, so
Yeah.
yeah, they that's how I got in. They invited me. They released the schedule. I liked the schedule enough. I thought it was going to be a fun shot. And like we've talked before, I had the win, and it was funny because I circled that one on like the playbook as the one that I thought I'd have the best shot in because it was closest to home. Not that I've ever been there, but I figured it would play a lot like something that I was used to. Because at that point, all I did was fish regionally. Like, I mean, I fished Toyotas and stuff, but that always took me like to the East Coast and kind of about the same up and north wise, so Champlain, St. Lawrence River, Lake Erie, stuff like that. So when I saw Winnebago, I was like, well, that's about the same distance north and south as I am. That should be in my comfortability level. And,
Mhm.
and obviously it worked out, but that was every once in a while those things happen. That's what's that saying? The blind squirrel finds nuts sometimes.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's 100% right. Before we dive into, that specifically that victory at Winnebago, you're a business owner, you have a family, wife and children, and a lot of guys that want to talk about like your thought process on how that commitment was going to work, because you have so many different existing organizations out there between bass, Major League Fishing, you got the Alabama Bass Trail, you got the Cash and Rods Tour out of New York, you got the BFLs, you got the everything, right? You got so much. And so as a business owner, like a lot of your stuff is self-funded, as you talked about before, but was there a reason you chose the NPFL over any of those other like major staple organizations?
I mean, yeah, man, I this is a pretty transparent group here, and I like to give the fans what they're looking for. I mean, the truth of the matter was at that point in time, I was terrified to fish against Kevin Van Dam for 50 grand. And I didn't know if I would actually have to. I mean, I guess it was 100 grand in the pro circuit when I got invited to do that in 2020 as well. I was like, man, Skeet Reese, Kevin Van Dam, like all these dudes that have been doing this forever. Now I'll take my odds in like against the guys that are mostly from the opens and whatnot, because they're the same level as I am at that point in time. And obviously the NPFL has grown substantially since then. They've got a bunch of really talented anglers that have been doing this professionally for a long time. And so there's no longer the fear of like, oh God, I got to go fish against Kyle Welcher. Like Kyle Welcher's a great guy and he's a hell of a fisherman, but like, they're human just like you and I, and they put their pants on the same way as you and I do. And we similar knot techniques, similar cast techniques, they got more time on the water and that helps a lot for sure. But in reality, once again, it's human, and there's no longer like a fan base factor or a fear factor. I remember like the first year that I ever fished the opens, I was like power pulled down at the bank of the James River, and I was looking at all these guys that were like my idols growing up, and I was like starstruck, and I'm going, yeah, this is like, I want his autograph. I've talked to him in seminars before, and I've watched his seminars. And it was like the second day of the tournament, I got my teeth kicked in, and I was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to fish that tournament too, right? Like I wasn't just here to watch them do well. I was here to make money too, and I kept killed. So yeah, so a lot of that's gone, thank God. But like every once in a while, like I mean, I even because I am a fan of the sport, and I look up to a lot of these guys. Like full disclosure, I mean, I've fished against them all year, but like I keep to myself for the most part when I'm there. I kind of put my head down, and I have a job to do, and I kind of focus at it that way, and that's how I separate myself from the fan side of things, right? So like I think it was either the last day of practice or the first day of the tournament. I was like walking through the parking lot at the boat ramp, and I saw Hank Cherry, and I was like, man, you know what? It's the last tournament of the season. I might as well go be human for a second, go shake his hand, tell him it's cool to watch him win a couple of classics, and I've been following along and type of thing. And that's the only person I've done that to this whole year, fishing against the group of guys that I have. And it's nothing against the other guys. I just didn't take the time to, because, I'm focused on trying to take their lunch money too,
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
Yeah. They're there to beat you as much as you're there to beat them. And your track record proves that you can do that. and we were talking before the show, like, it's nice, like, yeah, everybody wants to win those tournaments, but everybody competes against individuals on the roster. I don't care where you're at, right? So you could be fishing a cat trail, you could be fishing a BFL. You see that household staple name, whether or not it's a guy that dominates on a certain lake or he's a back-to-back Bassmaster Classic winner, and you're like, if I do anything, I want to at least beat that person. You know what I mean? Everybody does that, man. But yeah, so season 1. What was the feeling like at that very first stop? Where the first stop was, what, Wright Patman or something like that?
No, it was Eufaula, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
And I'd never been there. No, I take that back. I went there in pre-practice, like in the wintertime after I signed my contract. I took like a little, like being up here, having a construction business, we don't do a whole lot in the winter. And I talked to we weren't even married yet, but we were together. And I was like, what do you think? You want to go for like a 2-week hiatus and go down south and go see some of these places we got to go? And she was obviously, pretty excited to do it then. We didn't have kids or anything, so responsibilities were a whole lot less, and we went around and had a good time along with going and looking around. But off that rabbit hole that I just ran down, the tournament start, I was a lot of nerves. Like I do this to myself a little bit, where I think that I need to get locked into a certain thing, and I don't know if I'm not willing to change on the fly or what happens, but like I had a heck of a good flip and bite in practice, and I could duplicate it up and down the lake. It didn't matter where I was at. I could pull up on certain stuff that looked the same, and I could just go up and flip on it and get bit. I didn't think I was going to win, but I figured I could top 15, top 20. And they sucked the water out of it like the day that we had off. And me not knowing anything about how they do that, from being up here, I don't, like, full disclosure, up here we don't have reservoirs.
Yeah,
like
you don't
that.
have winter drawdown.
Nope. And so like they had a rain right before we got there, and the water got like, I don't think it was high, but it was high enough to where the Army Corps of Engineers decided on our day off to drop it a foot. And I'm fishing bank grass. It was already only like 2 foot deep, and the fish were in there pre-spawn and getting ready to spawn, and like I could consistently catch them and get bit. And I was, even at that point in time, I knew, the fish that I'm fishing for, they don't always reload and stuff. So I was going to shake off a lot of fish, and, so I didn't burn them out. And I did all the right things, and I literally went up and down that place, and I probably burnt more gas than I should have to figure this out or for it to resonate. But like 2:30 in the afternoon, when I had to be in at like 3:30, I had 0 fish the first day. And I was like in full blown panic mode. And I ran back to the little creek arm that's right by the boat ramp, and I picked up a chatterbait, and I think I caught 3 keepers like in 15 minutes, and I caught like 2 other shorts. And I realized that with that water being pulled out, the fish just pulled off the bank a little bit. They weren't far off, but they were just on the next little edge, I guess you could call it. And you could get bit running the chatterbait around just like I could do at home. And, fast forward to the end of that tournament, and I missed a check by like not even a pound. And for the first one, I had high expectations, but at the same time, I'm realistic, and I'm a realist kind of guy. And I was like, man, you know what? Like, you fell on your face the first day. You were definitely dumb. Like, you should have did this way sooner. But like the fact that you came out and knocked the dust off and came back and rallied as hard as you did and missed a check by just like, unfortunately, like a pound there was like 7 spots or 8 spots. So it wasn't like I was, one place out, but I missed it by like a pound. And, a limit the first day, even if it was a small one, I made a check, and I put my head down there, and I let it, the anger, settle in my belly. And I was like, okay, go be focused and go do better. The next one was Wright Patman, and I did do better there. I cut a check, $10,000 check. And that just kind of started the machine in motion for me. And there was a lot of learning curve, though. Like that first year, I'd never really fished other than early spring in Florida. And we went there in May in the Harris chain. And I got my teeth kicked in pretty good there. But I came back really, really fired up. And I want to say it was either the next one was Wright Patman or the one after that one. I mean, not Wright Patman, but Winnebago. I'd have to go back and look at the schedule. But I do distinctly remember leaving Florida angry at the world and ready to go set the next ones on fire. And if my memory serves me properly, the next one was Pickwick. And I don't know anything, or I didn't know anything about Pickwick then, but I did a bunch of online study and I did a bunch of map study, and I come out of the gate swinging. And the first day, I think I was sitting in second or third place. And I was like, yeah, you can do this. And then I come to find out that, having one really good area, if something goes wrong, that can burn you down really, really quick. And it's exactly what it is. I don't know how to ledge fish to save my life to this day. And I found like a particular place that had a bunch of fish on it. And I mean a bunch. I caught whatever 17 and change that I caught that day, like in 30 minutes. And it was an underwater pipeline kind of up the river. And I found it on my side scan just by chance, and had like everything. There was like a little bit of grass, a little bit of rock, a little bit of wood, hard spots around it, and the fish were just on it. And it was the current break thing too,
Yeah.
But with that being said, I pulled up there with a cameraman. I was fired up with every little cylinder that I had going in my brain, was ready to rock and roll. And they were doing utility work on the pipeline and blew the whole thing out. Just by the grace of God, somebody had to be doing that stuff. And I even tried to tell them what I was doing, and I would give them money to leave. Like, I was like, I'll pay you a day's wage to come back on Monday, brother. Like, dude, you're not doing anything but running an impact underwater, and you're just ruining my fishing. You got to go. And yeah, they weren't listening to me. They didn't give a crap about that. So, but that, I think, further fueled the fire, proved that I could do it, to be sitting tied with first or tied with second, whenever it was that tournament day. And then that's what it was. I came back the next one and I won it. So, yeah, it was cool. It was a good season. There was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of learning curve, and, to be expected. I kind of figured that going into it, being up here my whole life and fishing up here, it's a bass is a bass for sure, but you can do things a little different. But I'll tell you that a learning curve that's been huge for me is, even as much as your friends are your friends, and as much as you want to talk to your buddies on the road, like the guys that you fish against, whatever, dock talk is dock talk, and dock talk's there for a reason. And a lot of times it's just to put you in the wrong path.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, go ahead.
I was going to say, and on top of that, you need to learn to have confidence in what you do and not worry about what works best in that particular body of water. Like, for instance, the Tennessee River, the juice is ledge fishing. It just is. I don't have anywhere to practice ledge fishing, but I'm going to tell you that bass get shallow everywhere in the country. Mm-hmm. And I've learned that I can go on these river systems, and if I am willing to commit to it and put my head down, I can go catch a good bag of fish every day, bring weight to the scales, and do well in these tournaments, even when it's not geared towards what my strengths would be.
Sure. Yeah. I can't remember who we were talking to. Pete, you may remember, but you talked about choosing the NPFL, because frankly, I didn't, you didn't want to fish against KVD. And then you talk about dock talk, but somebody, I can't remember who we had on here, but they said Kevin Van Dam was the best ever to play
John Cruz,
to play psychological war games with people at the ramp. And I agree with you, man. It's so easy.
Yeah, because he even fished against KVD in his prime, and he said all he had to do was shoot certain guys a look, and they would be done. He was like, you just had a look he would give them, and they would be done.
Yeah. Yep. But I agree with you. I think that dock talk can really screw up an angler if they listen to it.
Yes.
And you start creating self-doubt. And you're like, dude, I got to go ledge fishing. It's a TVA system. I got to ledge fish. And it's you don't have to do anything. No, right. But your odds are better when you're doing something you're confident and comfortable with. Right. So, and you prove that in season one. What do you think? Would you say that for season one, you got all the jitters out, you got a win? I was like, that's a huge deal. I'm sure you strapped that shield in your truck tighter and all get out, and probably drove around with it for a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, it went all the way to Oklahoma.
But if you were to, is that the biggest message or the biggest lesson learned for you season one, is just do what you do best?
Yeah, and I'm a hard learner. I'm not a very fast learner. So even on season 5 here, 4 for the NPFL for me, I still have to coach myself into doing what I'm most comfortable with every once in a while, because you know, you get this idea, like you do enough research, and it's not so much doc talk either, but you see, you know, like the old Bassmaster shows or whatever, and you're going to a place and you're like, oh, I got to be able to go throw a Carolina rig and do that because that's how you're going to do well. And you beat that in your head.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, you're like, well, shit, if I'm out here doing this and I'm not getting bit, what else can I do? You know,
Yeah.
or when scoping was a big thing, you know, and now NPFL doesn't let us do that at all, which is fine. But like first year that we went to Logan Martin last season, first tournament of the year, 3 days of practice, I went 3 hours of fishing on the bank. And the rest of the time I was in the water, daylight to dark, was scoping. And I never caught a single bass, but I was committed to it because I thought that it would be one that way. And I literally was out there smoking catfish, small catfish, 3-pounders, 4-pounders. They look just like bass on my graph to me. And I didn't know any better. And they were out chasing bait too in the middle of the river channel and 50 feet of water. And I'm out there catching catfish. And I'm like, this just doesn't make sense at all. And
Shaking
I was
that
lost
manner.
last year's Easter egg. And, you know, I let myself get in these places. And later I'm like, you're dumb for doing that. Like, you know better. And, you know, I rallied in that tournament. I almost made a check there, even though I literally almost zeroed one day because I had a 17-pound bag fishing in the bank the third day. And I was like, see, when you actually commit to doing stuff that you like to do, look what you can do. 17 pounds in the middle of the wintertime.
Yeah.
And
cold as all get out, too.
Cold as all get out. And I was throwing a chatterbait like at mock Jesus speed. And when they ate it, they ripped the rod out of my hand. And I was literally doing it because I didn't know what else to do.
Hey, it's a good bait, man. I had to work on it this year. Pete can attest to that. Like I had zero confidence in that. You know, after year one, so you go home after year one.
Mm-hmm.
What is that are you married now, or are you still boyfriend, girlfriend, or?
No, we're married now. This is our third year being third. I don't know. That's terrible. I'm saying this out loud.
Oh no, she won't listen to this. It's fine.
Just blame it on COVID.
Third or fourth year being married. Yeah. So, I actually proposed to her in like right before New Year's after year one.
Okay.
We got married pretty quickly right away. We actually, it was like COVID years there, and we were like picking out venues and stuff, and we rallied up like $60,000 on a bill really quick. And I was like, I'm not doing this. We're going to go to Mexico and we're going to have a good time. And we eloped and went to Mexico, and we went offshore fishing and had a blast and probably drank my weight in tequila, which is a bunch. And
I thought you were going to say you guys went down to St. Julian Winery and just racked up a tab there.
Oh no, we could have though. We still can. It's not hard to do there.
What was that conversation like with yourself and then with your spouse? Like, were you were like 100% like I'm going back to the NPFL next year, or did you question it?
Nope, 100%. I was in, and the only thing 100%. That we had that year that was an interesting thing was that was the year that whatever sponsor it was backed out and pulled the championship. But I trusted what they were doing, and I believed in what they were doing. And, you know, I liked the format. I liked a few of the guys that I was traveling with and became friends with and whatnot. And, you know, it was hard to want to do something different. I didn't think there was a better alternative at the time. I really didn't believe I wanted to go against 220 guys in the boat or in the Bass Opens. The pro circuit was interesting at the time. There was some sponsor issues there, and you had to qualify, and I didn't fish any Toyotas to qualify that year. Now, like maybe I could have called the director and they might have gave me a spot because I qualified the year before. I don't know. I didn't try. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stick with it. You know, we're doing pretty good. And year two, I mean, I didn't win any tournaments per se, but I did well. I damn near won Saginaw Bay. I was second going into the last day by 3 ounces. Ended up top 10 there. I almost won Lake Hartwell. That was like the second tournament of the year. And I feel like I cut a check in another one too. So I was like 50% on the year for cutting checks wise, and, you know, did good in points. I think I was like 24th or 23rd in points overall, which is good. And we had like about 105 boats, just like we had this year. And so I was feeling myself, you know, I was like, yeah, we're doing really good. And then, you know, there was like a little bit of a fallout with the hiccup there in management and stuff in the NPFL. And about 50 of us pulled the plug and went to the opens, and we found out why the opens have who they have. And, there's a lot of good stuff there, and there's a lot of interesting stuff there. And, I'll talk about it off the air. I'm not going to try to point fingers at any particular guys, but like, there was some stuff that went on that was fairly fishy in the opens that year. And it was pretty wild that they changed a whole lot of rules after that year. But I think,
is that the first year of the EQs?
Yes. And I think there was some guys that maybe or may have not have played a whole lot of stuff in the gray. They might not have really been advertently breaking the rules, but like, they were not playing within what everybody else was playing. Let's put it that way. But they were hands down the best scopers that have ever qualified for the Elite Series as a whole. And so I'm not taking it away from them. They did very well. I had good tournaments there, just like I've had everywhere else, but I just wasn't able to put it together for 9 tournaments. I think at the 8th tournament, I called it. I wasn't far off. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I was like in 220 boats that fished all year long, and I think I was like 60th in points. So really not terrible, but like I knew I wasn't making it to the EQ or through the EQs to qualify. And I was looking at like business stuff. I'd been gone as much as I did. I paid my entry fee, but I bailed out of the last tournament. I didn't go to Florida. I was like, it's just not like, I mean, yeah, maybe I can win some money going down there, but like, I'm not going to qualify. So I'm out, and, came back to the NPFL because I liked the idea of 6 tournaments and, that they moved up to $100,000 then. And, that year was literally my worst year that I've ever fished. I didn't cut a single check all year. And I ended up like in the 80s in points, and 100% disclosure on it. It was because I literally 100% committed to scoping. And I felt like, even though it was not something that I was good at or that I practiced, I don't practice it here. There's no reservoirs that have all this deep water and stuff around for me to fish shad or anything like that, shad balls and stuff. So I was like literally a kindergartner getting beat by varsity players every time I went to these tournaments because I wouldn't do anything else. And my wife, she was mad as all get out at me because I was honest. And I said, I think I can go over here and I could flip and fish the way I like to fish and maybe cut like a last check or the top, the last 5 checks, whatever that would be, 30th to 35th or whatever. And she's like, well, why don't you do that? I was like, well, because I'm fishing for $100,000, not 10. And if I'm not scoping, I'm not fishing for $100,000.
Yeah. My wife yells at me all the time because I do the same thing.
Yeah. And it's so aggravating to say that out loud, but it's the truth. And I could have my best day on the water not scoping, and a guy that's good with scope, like let's just put him out there because he's good with it, like Patrick Walters is good with it. Kyle Welcher, they're good with it. You take them guys and have them do an 80% or 70% day, and they're going to run away from my best day fishing without it.
And you had that was 23?
24.
Or 24. So you had some non-elite series, elite scopers as well, or not necessarily they're just scopers, but guys that are really good. Local guy like Mike Corbersley, who's really good with technology. You had who's the kid we had on the show, Will Harkins, who's really good with forward-facing sonar, and can compete with those guys. Trent Palmer. It's easy to get caught in that mindset that you have to go do that, and I've done it. My wife has yelled at me. She's like, I don't know why you don't just put a jig in your hand and go do what you do, because that's when you've always fished the best. And because we get in our mind, well, I got to figure out how to do this because this is how I'm getting beat. When really, you compete not doing it, but TV, internet, doc talk, everybody says you need to be out there looking at that dang screen.
Well, you made the statement too, like I'm fishing for $100,000. I'm not fishing for 10.
It's a different amount of pressure.
It's definitely a different amount of pressure, but there is something to be said about the technology and the people that are really, really good with it. From a statistics standpoint, they are most likely going to beat you doing it, even if you are fishing the bank. But you're going to beat yourself doing it if you're not good at it and you're not fishing the bank and you're cashing $0. So, and that's just the way it is. Everybody should go out there with a mindset, I want to win. But sometimes it's like playing poker, right? Like sometimes you just need to know when to fold them and then get the next hand. So But that was 2024, you said?
Yes, that was 24.
Okay.
So that was year 4 for them, but year 3 in the NPFL for me.
Before we talk about the rest of the NPFL, I mean, you fished 8 of the 9 opens, right? That first year that they started fishing all 9. Not good, bad, or indifferent, but like, what is the biggest thing? Like, I have a plan to fish the opens this year. We'll see if it happens, right? Only a division of them, and that's it. But for the audience that has fished the opens, that has fished maybe the legacy FLW stuff, and so on and so forth. In your opinion, what is the biggest like cultural difference between like fishing an open and fishing an NPFL? They're both 3-day tournaments, right? There's a cut in the opens. There's not in the NPFL. You're fishing for way more money in the NPFL. You have the chance to go to the classic if you win an open, if you fish a division or at that time fished all of them. But what is the biggest cultural difference in your opinion?
Man, I think that it's overall, I wouldn't say there's a huge difference. I mean, truthfully, there's well, the way that I looked at it when I went was when I met people and I talked to people, I got the same general consensus vibe from everybody, and that was they were there to fish for money. And it didn't matter which organization you were there for. The only difference that I noticed for sure was in the opens, the tech guys that were like big scopers were there because they could use it and it was available and there was a big carrot at the end of the stick. And I think that that's the biggest thing that the NPFL does not have is something bigger than them to go to. That's why the stake is like the elites have nothing above them, but they have the classic, and the classic is still just, that much bigger to qualify for still. Now the championship in the NPFL is nice, but like it ain't the classic and it's not Red Crest. And maybe someday it will be, but till that day happens, it's not. And I think that that's one thing that these guys had in mind was they were fighting for something bigger than where they were at.
Sure.
And I don't know if that was,
sense.
I don't know if that was making them hungrier or wanting to work harder or what it was, but I've heard others talk. Now, I've never had these conversations with sponsors yet, but like, I got a couple of friends that fish other stuff, and they were going to fish the NPFL because it was, big deals, and some of their corporate sponsors were like, "We don't support it. It's still kind of a club tournament to us," and that's tough to hear because you're fishing for $100,000, you have a championship, you got a lot of really big names in it, but like some of the industry leaders were still saying that, we're not going to give you that money if you're going to fish the NPFL. To these other, now that's not to me, but to other guys, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And that's a big deal when you're fishing for as much money as we are, whether it be in the opens or the elites or the BPT, Pro Circuit, NPFL. If you're working with a company and you have familiarity with the company and they're going to give you money, or you're going to work for money, whatever you want to say it as, because sponsor's not free. I mean, you don't just get it given to you. You got something you got to provide back in return. But if that's like your paycheck that you're counting on, and that company says, if you go that route, we're not giving you $1, that changes a lot of people's perspective, whether it's good, bad, or different. And, I know a couple of guys that fished in 24 that their companies or their sponsors were boat dealerships and such that wanted them to fish MLF because there was more tournaments close to their home and they paid entry fees to keep them there. And, that stuff happens. And, I don't know if it's, if there's anything really like terrible about the NPFL other than it's just still not quite the household name.
Yeah.
Well,
and
overall, I think they want to hold the tournament, but
they do. And, it's just gonna, there's no secret in any industry in the world that there's people that have more leverage than others. News sometimes can be frowned upon. The powers that be can take a very, a lot of nepotism happens. Like, I don't care where you're at. You can't tell me that people don't sit back and have glasses of bourbon and make decisions for the industry, because I know that they do. And it happens with politics. It happens in business. It happens with everything. It's just going to take time. And that's what that was my second part of asking you, You talked about not really much of a cultural difference. You obviously had 225 boats in the opens. You don't have that in the NPFL. But as far as like going back to the NPFL, how did that feel coming from the opens? Was it vastly different? Did you feel just better or just the same? How'd that go?
I mean, I felt like I came back home because I fished with them a couple of years and I was in the starting spots with them. And, you know, a lot of, like, when you fish with them, you get to know the ownership and the tournament directors and, you know, the guys that park your trucks. I mean, you get to become friends with these fellas and, you know, and Michelle too. Sorry, I don't want to leave her out because she's part of it just as much as anybody else too. And, you know, I want them to all hear it, like whether they listen to this or not. Like, they work hard to do what they do, and you know, they do have a good family feel for the most part. Now, I will admit that, in my opinion, I don't want to, like, I'm not casting shade when I say this, because if I was in their position, I would probably do the same thing. But like, it's a lot less family now, and it's a whole lot more business because they have so many big names in there that they are utilizing for their push and their clout. They really highlight those guys. Now, like, I'm not, like I said, this is not a shade thing, because I was fortunate enough to win one. So because of that, like the Lions twins, you know, the twin visual camera guys, practice when they're running around. If they know where I'm at, or if they're in an area close to me, they literally 100% of the time show up, take pictures of me in practice, have me do little interviews with them. Whether they use them or not, that's up to them. But like, if I'm around the body of water, the area that they're in, and I'm even remotely catching them in the tournament, they show up and take pictures of me. So I kind of feel like I'm in that group, but like, I see it even as one of them that gets a little bit more publicity than others. Where a lot of like the highlight stuff is the Elite Series guys, and like, they've earned it. They're very good fishermen, and they do have a whole lot different, you know, amount of followers and whatever that do come to the screen now to watch the NPFL because they're there. So I get it, sure. Like, I good business, it is. It's just, as the guy that's not a Drew Cook or a Kyle Welcher, it's like, shit, I used to be that guy. You know what I mean? They follow me around too. So like, that's been a shift that's in the NPFL. It's a needed shift because of what they've done. Like, they probably wouldn't keep the Drew Cooks and Kyle Welchers if they weren't putting cameras on them at all.
Right.
Like,
right.
They wouldn't, like, their sponsors wouldn't want to pay the bills at all if they were getting no notoriety for being there. You know what I mean? And so I think that they're doing the right stuff. It's just, to be on the receiving end of that, it's kind of like, well, that stings a little bit, you know. But at the same time, being in business, I get it. You know, I'm not like mad at them for it, but that has been a little bit of a shift.
Yeah, we had those conversations. You know, obviously we're all fans of the sport. We're great friends with the ownership group over at the NPFL. Had so many opportunities to, you know, have them on the show and stuff like that. But, you know, and I can't say that it probably didn't cross the ownership's group mind a couple times when it was like, hey, we're gonna bring over some more, you know, Wasta, some clout, some fan favorites and stuff like that. But, you know, where do you strike the healthy balance between showcasing their legacy in the sport and highlighting those that should be afforded the opportunity to be recognized in the sport? And I think that goes back to performance, like you said, right? Like, the person that maybe finishes dead last every single time in the tournament, do they need a camera on them all the time? Probably not. No. But, you know, a majority of the field doesn't fish the Bassmaster Elite Series, doesn't fish the Bass Pro Tour. You know, where is their opportunity? And if you say it's in tournament results, then I say, okay, I get that, because that's an easy metric. But at the same time, is it, you know, was there an understanding prior to the Elite Series and BPT guys coming over that they were going to get some camera time, or at least opportunities to be a part of the articles and pictures and social media exploitation and stuff like that? So, you know, I don't know how you strike a healthy balance with the owner with that kind of stuff. It's a tough decision.
There isn't. Yeah. There's no way to do it. You have to make a decision that's best for the organization, because at the end of the day, it's a business. And while they do care about the anglers, they have to move the needle, and they have to utilize what's going to move the needle.
Yep.
And a guy that's always, and I'm not going to name anybody because I can't think of it all the time, but if they're always in the 70s in tournaments, they don't do any social media, they don't have a following, there's really no benefit to the organization
to highlight
as a whole to highlight that guy, right? Like right now you're trying to grow, you're trying to get more eyes on you. You need folks that have that following. Buck has a reputation from his time fishing regionally, locally. There's local guys here that got, they got that time when they were here and people could see what they could do. The elite guys obviously all have followings just because of who they are. So you have to, it's going to upset people, but there's fair, and then there's what works for the organization. And at the end of the day, it benefits you all as anglers because it's going to bring more sponsor dollars. It's going to bring more opportunities, and eventually that will even out. The level of competition is going to continue to raise, and the cream's going to stay, and the discard is going to move on to fish something else. And I'm not saying that like people are discard or anglers are discard, but the folks that want to be there are meant to be there. They can compete are going to stay. Those that can are going to move on. I think a lot of people's concerns was going to become like the elite BPT 2, where those guys were just going to go and try to take checks. And we've had the opportunity to talk to those folks there, and I'm not going to put names out there, but a lot of them speak very highly of the organization, and they continue to come back, not just to make money, because they actually enjoy fishing with the NPFL and the folks there. And
I mean, heck, even Hackney said, like, man, I just love it here because I just get to fish. I don't get wrapped up in all the social media stuff. Gosh knows that those guys get enough of that over on the Elite Series side. But then there's guys like you or not like you, but there's guys that are like, man, I'm hungry for that stuff. Like wrap me up in it. You know what I mean? So, but there's just not enough of it to go around,
Nope. And the budget's not big enough, no matter what organization you fish.
Exactly.
To have that. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter where you're at. There's only so much money to go around, and that's all there is to it. And, like I said, I don't think they've done anything terribly wrong with doing what they're doing. It's just part of the facet of life and the facet of this business. So the way that it's ran, they have to have the metrics and the numbers to bring more sponsor dollars to it. But I will say, in my opinion, now this is not shade again, but it makes it harder for the money that comes to the NPFL for a normal NPFL guy that like maybe had been there for 4 years to get that money when Greg Hackney's fishing it too.
Oh, for sure.
Totally understand that.
And that's not taking it away from Greg, because he's earned it, right? He's cut his teeth and he's made the money, and he's had a hell of a career. He's one of the guys I followed since I was 6 years old, watching him on TV. And fishing against him it's an honor to do so, and to be able to compete with him, and that's really cool to do. Like I said, the big fan days are kind of over, unfortunately, because I do have to break bread with him and fish against him. And, we sometimes you run into each other in areas and whatever. And, I fish a lot like Hackney does, and I fish a lot like Christy does. And I see him on the water just in passing and whatnot, because we do fish the same ways. And
hey,
my
we have a
biggest
special
fans
guest
here,
here.
Special guest.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, with the money and stuff, as the organization matures, what's up?
She needs some screen time.
That's right.
Hi.
You want to be on TV? Yeah. You're on TV. Say hi.
Yeah.
And she's all Halloweened out. Like, you're ready for it already.
So she's a October baby. So she's a spooky little individual. So.
Oh, there you go. That's awesome, man. Yeah, my wife's an October baby. Her birthday's here in 2 days.
Mine too. Mine's on next Saturday.
Yeah,
25th. But what I was saying was, I think as the organization matures, you're going to have organic growth with homegrown anglers that have stuck it out and have competed, and that money will get more spread about and not necessarily just go to those big names. I think looking at it now, it's hard to see that, especially as viewers and stuff. I know there's a lot of big opinions on the internet. There's a lot of big opinions on the internet about what's right, but we all look at that with emotions because we're fans of sport, right? So I think we heard the Classic in 2020
23.
3. It was the first year they had some Elite Series guys come over,
Mhm.
and it was like constant. And Paul, who's part of the ownership group, was there. And it was constantly people coming up there like, y'all said you were never going to let anybody from these other series. And they're like, no, we never said that.
Yeah,
That's not what we said.
Mhm.
We're going to let people apply. And if they get through the application process and they want to fish with us, they can fish with us. We weren't gonna ban or tell somebody they couldn't because they fished the Elites or the BPT. It was about the anglers. And now year 5, year 5, I think they're starting to realize they can care about the anglers, but they also have to care about the business if they want to keep this train rolling.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah,
And we're gonna have Brad
once
and Paul
again-
on, and we'll ask these hard questions. So
Yeah, and you know, like I said, I don't think that they're doing it wrong. It just being on the softer side of things with it. Well, like if I'm the one that's not maybe benefiting as big as some of the other guys, that's a stinger. But like at the same time, I get it because I don't have 30,000 followers on Instagram.
yeah.
And I don't have the time to make that happen organically. Like maybe I could strike a check to a media company and they could get 18,000 bots in there overnight, but I would get no interaction with anybody. So, I'd rather do it the way that I'm doing it. I mean, I'm focusing on my social when I'm doing my social media stuff. I try to do a little bit about my fishing stuff. I try to put my daughter in there and some of my family stuff in it too, because it creates a familial. I really struggle with this word.
Familial.
Familiarity. Is that right?
Yeah, familiarity.
Yeah, that one. I don't know why I can't say it, but it's tough.
A connection.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it just makes you feel like you're more personable and like, people can get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't want everybody to think that I'm like above conversation with other people because I fished NPFL or fished the opens and done well in these places and whatnot. I mean, I'm a simple guy from Southwest Michigan that's open to hang out with anybody and open arms and open eyes and ears.
And there's not many. Oh, sorry.
I just enjoy the connection that I can get with people.
There's not many anglers even at the highest levels that are like that. There's a few, and folks are quick to point those few out, but for the most part, even guys at the highest level, even Kevin Van Dam, if you can get him when he's not getting berated by 400 people, he's just a normal dude. Like we talked to him at a show not long ago, a couple years ago, and he was double fisting Miller Lights, and we were just BSing. And it was just 3 anglers talking about fishing, and most folks are like that. But I think people also forget that if you are a Kevin Van Dam or a Greg Hackney or a Gerald Swindle, everywhere you go, you're getting berated by people that want to talk about the last tournament or fishing or your opinions on this and that and the other thing, and it makes it tough. And if folks, for anybody listening that hasn't yet, go to an NPFL event, because you will see that it's different even with those guys at an event there. Everybody's kind of hanging around. Even the big names in the sport are providing the opportunity to talk to them. And it's just a different atmosphere. And I know for you, part of you being there at the beginning to now is culture shift, right? Like culture shift is a hard thing to go through and a change in culture. It happens in every business. It happens in every organization. Culture changes. And that you have a different perspective because you saw what it was. You see where it is now. But I think you also have fished enough other organizations to know they're doing some things better and they don't want them to get to a point of maybe some of these other organizations.
Yes.
And you keep that hope that they maintain those roots of keeping it like the family. And the FLW, I thought, was the one organization that struck that really good before the NPFL, where you talked to everybody and it was like a big family.
Yes.
100%.
And I've had conversations with the director from that pro circuit as of recently, and I feel like they're trying to kind of fit that same narrative like the old FLW tour was. And that's a good culture to be around too. So the idea that that's a thing in organizations in general is great. Whether that's like a mask that they're using to get more guys, or if it's just what the actual like organization is going to be like, or the division or whatnot. But that's a big deal to a lot of guys, is they want it to be like welcoming, feeling like you're spending a lot of money, whether it's your money or somebody else's money to be there. You want it to seem like you're getting a decent experience out of it. I mean, like, I made a joke about this the other day. I think I was talking to Seth about it actually on the phone, and I was like, if I wasn't so damn competitive and wanted to win the money and beat these guys and have like that bragging right feel, like I could take $35,000 and use it, every year for the next 5 years and invest that money into like a hell of a fishing show.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Probably be way more successful than I am in tournament fishing. And that's tough to hear because like who wouldn't want to have like a fishing show? Like I would love it, but like if I have to choose because I'm selfish and I like to do what I like to do, I want to fish tournaments.
It's funny you say that because if you look back at every single one of our legends growing up, every single one of them did it. Hank Parker, Jimmy Houston, Bill Dan, they all left tournament fishing to go start TV shows because they were like, hey, if I invest some of this money into a show and I teach people, I'm going to be way more successful. And they were, and they continue. Those names continue to carry. And Shaw Grigsby, our buddy Matty Wong. Matty Wong's doing a TV show now after he didn't requalify for the elites. That was his plan the whole time. He was like, if I don't requalify, this is my next dream, and he's getting to live that, and he has sponsors that support it. And I don't think we have enough of that today.
I don't think so either.
Of those shows, like
even your modern day guys, right? Like Matty's obviously modern day, but Milliken, right? Yeah, Scott Martin, Zaldane,
the YouTube series.
Even though Brandon Polinick is still qualified for the elites, and I think Zaldane is too. But like these guys are looking at different business ventures. I think the only thing that thing you were talking about, that competitive edge, is that adrenaline junkie mentality, right? Like there truly is. It hits like dopamine levels that are unlike anything else, right? Whether or not you're a basketball player, a hockey player, a competitive angler, a golfer, or whatever, right? Like you want to win.
It's funny because didn't we just have this conversation? Yeah. We were literally driving to a derby and we're like, this is dumb. Like, why are we up at 4:30 in the morning, driving an hour and 45 minutes ago? And then as soon as they call your boat number, we like look at each other, we're like, oh yeah, that's why we do it. That's right.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, fog as thick as the eye can see, and we're like, this is not safe, But at the same time, like we're ready to get after it. But and look, man, like I think healthy competition, being competitive outside the household, is sometimes good for relationships with your spouse. And I think sometimes it can be bad. You can have a bad tournament, come home pissed off, your wife feels the energy. But I think a lot of us that are like alpha males, like we really spend so much time and effort on winning that for me, like when I'm at home, it can be very calming. Right. Like it's very calming. I don't have anything to compete against inside my home. I just expend all that energy on the water or wherever I'm at. And then I come home and it's very relaxing.
Mm-hmm. That's how I feel too. A lot of it is that way. And it's not just in the fishing thing. It's like, I kind of have to be the brains and the brunt of the organization with my business too. So like I'm alpha there. And then like the alpha side of things, as far as the being very competitive and whatnot in fishing. So I'm burning a lot of the candle on both ends there, and then when I get home, I just want to chill with my kids.
I just want to
turn it all off. I don't even want to turn the TV on. I just want to listen to my kids talk, drink a whiskey, and hang out.
Yeah, I hear you.
And Trey's cuddling is disturbing, especially if you're in a travel tournament with him. Tries to snuggle up on the couch. It's odd, man.
Big spoon, baby.
I don't. You know what? Y'all are friends with Seth, and I've seen him try to cuddle.
Oh Lord.
So,
Yeah, Seth's a cuddler. Don't let him fool you. Don't let his gigantic stature and his always yelling at you voice trick you. He's a lover.
Yeah, and he also can't keep the big fish pin. So I'm just kidding. But so we're coming up on an hour here, and I want to kind of get towards you just wrapped up 2025. There's been some changes. There's been some changes for 2026. With the NPFL rules, and specifically, and this is up to you if you want to, what are your thoughts on the no information rule changes for 2026?
It's a safety net.
Okay.
And I mean that in a good way. Like I'll expand, the NPFL is like, so Sean fields these questions all the time, and I think he does a really good job. But like the fact of the matter is fishermen like to talk. It don't matter where you're at. in the country. You show up to a gas station and Johnny Joe wants to come over and tell you that he caught him off the point at Bear Creek and Pickwick last week on a spinnerbait.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's information that like can kill you in these tournament organizations on the wrong polygraph. And, you know, they're like friends talk and other people that are friends of each other, like fish these different tournament organizations and, you know, like giving them the openness of having those conversations till 30 days or whatever it is. I think it's 30 days.
Yep.
It's just going to keep anybody from really getting any bad vibe, like from thinking they're a cheater. You know what I mean?
And I also think a key piece of verbiage in there is it says you cannot elicit information inside that 30 days. So that protects you when that impromptu guy scooter at the gas station runs up and yells out, caught him at Bear Creek Point on a white spinnerbait and 32 foot. And you're like, well, now I got that. So it kind of takes it out of there because you didn't ask for that. You just had Johnny come up at the gas station, want to tell you I caught a 7-pounder last week on a rubber worm and show you a picture in Grandpa's boat. And that is, I've been pretty vocal. I think the no information rule's dumb, period. Like I think they're stupid. I understand sort of why they have them, but I don't agree because as an angler, your job is to promote.
Yes.
Your job is to grow the sport. Your job is to help the organizations gain fans, to communicate. Now you're telling me I can't talk to fans about literally what I'm doing in your organization. So what am I supposed to talk about? Hey, show me some pictures of your firstborn. Like it to me, it just sets the anglers up for failure. And in today's day and age, when public information is so readily available and any information is at the tip of our fingers all the time, it's an outdated that doesn't make sense. And I think you could write it to say you can't financially elicit information where you can't pay for information. But I think you should be able to talk beg, barter, trade, anything that involves exchanging services, money, goods, whatever for information should be. But I should be able to have a conversation with anybody at the Bass Pro. If they come up to me and want to talk about fishing,
yeah.
Why is that? What is so wrong with me trying to grow my brand, grow your brand, and grow fishing? And I talk about all the time. Everybody wants to grow the sport till it's time to grow the sport, and then we do something stupid like have a no information rule.
Yep. And that's the hard thing is policing it too. Like really getting the right, you know, like there is guys that go out there and break the rules. Like I don't need to.
There is.
I'm not going to ever be the guy that like throws anybody on the bus. Everybody knows what's going on in the elites and what's happened where a lot of guys got DQ'd and stuff. And some of them were BS DQs, it seems like, and some of them may or may not have been BS DQs. And, you know, if your intent is to get information that's going to better you for a tournament when you're not supposed to, by all means, I think you should get disqualified. But if you're in a conversation, like we're just talking about it, and something came up, you know, you didn't barter for it, you weren't requesting for it, your intent wasn't there, you shouldn't get penalized for having a conversation with somebody that wanted to have a conversation with you.
I agree.
And I like her. There's a lot of big opinions about Scott Martin, but his was a perfect instance in that Okeechobee event. Like he asked somebody like 3 months before what the water looked like, and that came back to bite him. Right? Like, it's going to be different in 3 months. He was just rigging a boat, having a conversation with a customer at his dad's marina or his marina. I think he has one too, at a marina. And it ended up costing him a tournament on his home lake where he probably would have done pretty well given the weird conditions they had down there this year. Right. Like, and that's why I just think that you need to do away with it. You need to write the rule where you can't financially, like you said, barter, beg, steal, trade, goods, services, money. That makes sense because then money doesn't play a factor. Just because I have money doesn't give me an advantage. But if I tell you you can talk to anybody, everybody's going to want to go to the tackle shop the week before a tournament, right? I'm going to spend my whole week in there talking to dudes that live on this water.
Hammond's Bait and Tackle at Lake Lanier.
You'll have 50 NPFL guys in there, right? So you're promoting their brand, you're promoting the NPFL, and you're interacting with now potential viewers, fans, whatever, however you want to call them, and
sponsors.
Potential sponsors, like it's just, to me, it's just an outdated rule. I
think I was actually kind of laughing to myself because I'm like, man, it sounds a lot like legal versus illegal prostitution. You know what I mean? But like outside of that, you know, so for the audience, no information 30 days before the start of official practice.
Can't elicit information.
Yes.
I'm curious to see, and you know this as well as anybody, you talked about Doc Talk earlier in the episode. Information is not always good.
No.
A lot of times information's terrible. Or you're trying to do something you're not good at, right? You're trying to go out there and drag a rig around and you don't like dragging a rig, but you're going to do it because Jim Bob did it on a shoal, halfway down the river. And you're going to get smoked doing it. So I think just as much as people may be on the fence about how much it can benefit the angler, and the information for me that I would be looking for is like, hey, where can I run and where can't I run? Where are the off limits areas? Where are the areas that I'm going to punch a hole in the bottom of my boat? Like, hey, how do I find the generation schedule for this lake? If it's a current driven, like those are the things that matter to me. I mean, gosh, man, Deep Dive app. We talked about it earlier when we were promoting our sponsors. They got tons of information out there. You can look on that.
Yeah, it's the best of the best as far as I'm concerned. And because it's commercially available, it's not against the rules. And you can literally be in Michigan looking at Logan Martin Lake and going, that area of the lake's cleaner. There's a little more clean water. Oh, that's a little dirtier. Whether you want to fish clean or dirty, that's up to you, right? And you're
100%.
You're looking and picking up areas that you might want to practice before you even get there. And so it's not 100% accurate, but I can tell you right now, it's a whole lot better than what you're going to get off of Google Earth.
Yeah, better than burning 60 gallons of gas the first day of practice, running everywhere to try to find what you're looking for too.
So moving into 2026, obviously you talked about that. We talked about that rules change.
That's the only one announced for them.
That's the only one announced. No forward facing sonar still.
Change. I think they're going to keep the forward facing off again. Pay structure's better.
Yep. Saw that.
Yep. So that's a bonus in the right direction. And because of some changes in different organizations and some guys getting booted, they're probably going to have 130 boats.
Okay.
So that's a good thing too. They should be able to fill 130 boats or pretty. If they don't, I'd be surprised. I mean, I know that industry-wide sponsorship's a little tough right now because of like some of the tariff stuff,
Yeah.
But that might be the only hindrance if somebody wanted to fish the elites and the NPFL, maybe their sponsors won't give them enough to cover both.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think that they've got some traction there. I think that, last I checked, they've already got about 80 guys signed contract or whatever, commitments anyway. So that's pretty close to that already. And they haven't even opened up the weather vanes to everybody yet. They haven't sent out anything to anybody to like apply. So that's a good jump start in the right direction. Is around 80 boats right now. We got some time until February. So
So the last question I want to ask you, Buck, and then I'll open it up to Pete, and then we can wrap this up. I'm not going to ask you what you're going to fish. I'm going to ask you, what is your biggest thing that you want to achieve, whether or not you fish whatever organization? What is your biggest thing that you want to do in 2026 that may be a little bit different over the last 4 or 5 seasons?
So, as an angler, I want to fish more consistently. I've had a little bit of an inconsistent past. I do very well and I don't do very well, and I do very well and don't do very well. And if I could hone that in a little bit as an angler, I would like to do that no matter where I'm fishing. So that's going to be a big thing. But like, as far as fishing's a business, and as far as what I'm going to do for fishing next year, where I'm going to be and where I'm not going to be, I'm going to deal with my sponsors. I'm going to talk to them, see what makes the most sense to them as far as me being a promoter of their brands. And then on top of that, I like to know where the money's going to go and what we're going to do with it. And so I want to really do some research on some of the payout structures that have been sent to me to see what's going to make the most sense. There's really ideally, this isn't rocket science. This is just the facts. There's only 2 pay-to-play places right now that you can do this, and that's the Pro Circuit and MLF, and then the NPFL. And with that being said, they both have great organizations. They both have great things going right now. There's been some big changes for the viewers that don't know this, because a lot of it not really been public yet, but MLF did some really tremendous changes in that Pro Circuit to try to rebuild it to what was like the FLW Tour before. And, they've got some I guess let's call it asterisks on everything, just like anybody else does. Like when we get our pay structure for the NPFL, it says based off 130 boats. There's some rules that they have in check with the pro circuit deal that are going to be golden, like as golden as you can get for, what people could ask for out of that place if they can get 124 boats or more. And that is no jackpotters other than BPT guys. And when they switched to the invitationals this couple of years, that was a really huge hindrance for them to get attendance for people that wanted to fish, because they allowed jackpotters. If somebody was a local and they wanted to fish it and they were a guide there, as long as they kept to the rules of no information for the 30-day period, they could fish. And they have spoken out to, as long as they get deposits paid of at least 124 boats, they will not let jackpotters in other than BPT guys. And not that I really care that the BPT guys are there or not, so that doesn't affect me one way or the other. I just don't want Jim Bob's guide service that guides on Lake Lanier,
320 days a year.
Yeah.
I'm not
I don't want him to be the one that takes my money, I guess, overall.
No, I think that's fair. Anybody that's paying to fish an organization.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like I said, the NPFL's near and dear to my heart. They've been there since I've started. Let's call it probably 75% of any publicity that I've ever gotten fishing has came from them. So like I really do appreciate what they've done, how they handle their business overall. I think that I kind of cleared the air with this in the beginning, but I'll close out with a little bit on this too. Is they have a skeleton crew that they keep for overhead purposes, and they do as much for the anglers as the other organizations do for the most part.
It's pretty incredible how much they accomplish with the number of people they have.
You can count on two hands how many they have.
Yep. And they run it like a pretty well-oiled machine. And there's been some breakdowns in it. And I mean, I guess that's growing pains and that happens. I don't really have anything tremendously negative to say about it. The only thing that I will say that I will publicly say to anybody in that organization, I wish that they would get our schedule put out sooner, and I wish that they would put our championship stuff on there instead of keeping it like, I know why they do it. They do it for the surprise. They want like the big release online, to draw more attention to it. So like it's our 2025 championship that, the English qualified in 2025 is going to be this date and it's this tournament. Like it's a big deal, and it's awesome that they announce it that way. But like anglers can,
She's having a ball.
Anglers can leverage that stuff to their advantage towards sponsors. Like they can sell it as a package, and that would be a bonus to an angler if they did that. So like that's the only negative that I will say that I wish they would change. I mean, I love the no forward facing thing. I'm a non forward facing fisherman more often than not. I can catch them without it or with it, but I prefer without. So that's where I'm at with it. I like both ideas that these companies have. I have a lot of familiarity with NPFL. I've got a couple of sponsors that have mentioned stuff about the pro circuit thing, and their potential sponsors. There's nothing on paper yet. So when those contracts and stuff come about, we'll see how that goes. That's going to be up in the air. Until then, I'm not making any like hasty moves anytime soon that I'm going to regret. I think I've got time to kind of at least clear the air and make sure I make the right decisions. And I'm going to talk to my wife and my, she's like the support group here. So if she's not good with it, it's not going to work out for me too. So you got to do both, right?
Yep. Yeah. No, I don't really have any other questions. I think the NPFL for 27 championship should have everybody bring 7 rods and 7 pounds of tackle, and then put them all on an airplane and just fly them to a lake and not tell them where they're going. Get Bass Cat to supply some boats.
Oh man,
do it like Ray Scott did the classic back in the day. You don't know where we're going, so we're in the air. I got the golden envelope.
Please do. Please do.
I think that would be super cool.
Well,
Please
regardless where you find yourself, after you make the decision and you kick it off in 2026, we want to invite you back and, keep this relationship going. I think you speak a lot of words of wisdom. There's a lot of young anglers out there that are fishing high school and college level, and, they have a dream, right? Dreams can also turn into nightmares, and maybe we'll get you on to talk specifically about how challenging it can be as a business owner to self-fund through this, and maybe we can even get into the nitty gritty on how, we won't release this to the IRS, but how you get around, paying too many taxes and stuff like that. But we appreciate you joining us here this week, man. We're excited for you. You've been, and this is for everybody. We talked about this before the show, and Buck agreed to this. Like, you don't have to, there's no stipulation that you're loyal to an organization unless a sponsor is telling you where you're going to fish, and that's who's paying the bills, right? Mm-hmm. It's no ding against Bass or MLF or NPFL, but at the end of the day, each individual angler is a business, and then they fall under the umbrella of that organization, but they got to make the decision on what's best for them and their family. And you've seen that a number of times with people leaving the BPT, trying to fish the opens, qualify for the elites, so on and so forth, shuffling around. It's nothing personal. It's all business.
Business is business on that too. And that is a huge thing. It's hard to feel that be okay. Cause like, I feel like you, excuse me. I feel like you do get to have like a, God dang it. You become friends with these people that you fish with, or like, not even just like the anglers, but like the organization, like the ownerships, the people that are employees of the ownership. And, it's hard to not make it feel like you need to be loyal, but at the same time, you do have to do what's best for your family.
100%. And
with that being said too, like as a closing deal, I think that it's always good to throw these things out there, because I know that there's going to be the younger generation going to be listening to this stuff. This is big for that. And don't give up on your dreams. If it's really a dream and it's what you want to do it, and take the risks every once in a while. It's a good thing to do. It keeps you healthy.
Yep. 100% agree. Well, Buck Mallory, we appreciate you joining us here this evening. We're going to let you get back to your family. Don't sign off just yet as we close this show out. Pete, you got anything for the group?
Nope. I'm good. Appreciate y'all. The only thing we didn't talk about, just real quick, congrats Tucker Smith.
Oh yeah.
On $500,000 in the Ultimate Angler Championship. No forward facing sonar. So apparently he can catch them without that, for all you internet idiots out there.
What we calculated, it was like $692,000 for 3
for this year. But you know what I also forgot?
He was Logan Parks.
Him and Logan Parks won that $1 million. So this is the second time he's won $500,000.
Yeah, he's unreal.
That kid's a stick.
Yep. 100%. Well, we appreciate you joining us. Hang out for just a second. Buck Mallory, great individual, great angler, great family man, and somebody that helps us continue growing a culture of anglers, helping Anglers OneCast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.